All right. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing well. Can't complain. My kids had a supposed snow day today, so we'll
Uh,
see. It's not snowing yet though in North Carolina, so we'll see.
right. I did see some friends in Richmond. They got snow.
Yeah. They say we will later, but either way, it'll be gone by another day or so, from what I've learned so
Right.
far.
It's not that New York City snow that you're used to.
Not that I'm used to. That's why I'll
Mm,
smile through all of this here.
Right. That snowstorm, what was that 96 we had?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember that
No
like it
thanks.
was yesterday.
No thanks. I'll take anything now. Now that I've been out of the snow, it's like life changing, you know?
I do not want
In
it.
it. Yeah, when you're in it, you're like, all right. But now that I don't have it as much, it's like, wow, this is different. But I'm not mad about it either.
Look. I'm not going to tell anyone your age unless you decide, but my 42-year-old back, my 42-year-old back and body does not want the snow.
I hear you. I hear you. Mine
Hmm.
too. I'm
I know.
43, and so mine too. But it's all good. It's all
Right,
good.
right. I truly appreciate you for joining me here on the Chronically Well podcast, where we have real conversations with community that needs to be heard. And may I say, Dr. Nikki, um, how do I pronounce your last name? Is it Videla?
Videla, uh-huh.
Videla? Dr. Nikki Videla, you're someone that truly needs to be heard.
Thank you.
Um, I've just, I typically don't know who my guests are until they show up in front of me because I love that organic conversation.
Sure.
And as soon as I saw your name, I went in and looked up your show notes. I said, you probably don't even remember doing this. But you gave me everything, and I could tell that's because of your background in academia. Like it tells you, like I have to do things a
Yeah.
certain way, right? And I'm so used to that also because many people don't know. For most of my life, I've worked in education, whether it was helping with putting input like 504 plans and IEPs. I worked as a media literacy educator. I ran a couple fatherhood initiative programs in schools. Was a family resource officer. Like I've done all of those types of things, and seeing like your bullets, I was like, I love this.
Well, you know how it is when you're in education and that's what you're used to. You're used to having the play by play of what's happening, what's going on, and all of that stuff. So I'm sure we'll talk also about how that fed into my diabetes journey too. Having all of those things like notes and preparation and all of that. Um, but yeah,
Yep, yep. So this Well, come March, releasing episodes with people all around the world. I have, I think 3 episodes with people from China, 3 from South America, 4 or 5 from India, uh, like all around. And I just wanted to show the world like what diabetes looks like everywhere, because even us living here in the U.S., diabetes is different,
yeah.
especially coming from like my media literacy background. Everyone who I've recorded with from places like in Africa, India, they tell me, they go, everything looks so nice in like the US with diabetes. Y'all have access to everything. And I'm like,
Depends. It depends who, what, when, where.
right, 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 right. So, yes, thank you again for joining me here on this journey that is the Chronically Well podcast. Could you please give our audience a summary of who you are?
Sure. It's funny that that's always that question that people get in like job interviews and things like that. They're like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And it's
Oh,
always the hardest question, right?
this is the unapologetic version though.
Got it. Got it. Oh my gosh, there's so much. So as you said, my name is Dr. Nicole Videla, and I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a sister. I am an educator. Have been working in higher education for over 17 years, working with opportunity programs. Most recently, I ran the Educational Opportunity Fund program in New Jersey for a 4-year state institution. And then my family recently relocated from New York to North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte. And, I say I'm a recovering New Yorker, and I mean that in the best way possible, but learning to slow down life a little bit and take time and getting to know myself and my family again. I have two children, almost 9 and 6, that keep me on my toes. And it's just, and I live with type 1 diabetes or type 1.5, depending on who you're talking to, because I was diagnosed at age 33. So there's all different conversations about different types of diabetes. And I think, one of the reasons why I decided to come here today and like have this conversation with you is because when I was diagnosed, I felt like the only person in the world at my age that got this. And then you recently had one of your podcasts with another woman who was diagnosed at 33. And it was just so heartwarming in a way to know that I'm not alone. And that there are other people, because you always hear there's children that get diagnosed with diabetes, and then there's adults. And they typically, historically, because we're not educated enough to know, you don't know, you don't know. A lot of people think when you're a child, you have type 1, and if you get diagnosed as an adult, you're type 2, which I've learned is the biggest, not true. It's not true at all. There's so many people that are our age that get diagnosed as well that fall through the cracks, unfortunately.
I'm trying
So
to,
yeah.
I was trying to figure out who was the young lady that was 33 when diagnosed. Like my
She was a
Rolodex.
singer. I remember she was a singer.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. Okay, I had to ask that because I recently recorded with someone who's 30, who was diagnosed at 33.
Mm-hmm.
Like that you're talking about Shara Clark.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
we recorded back in October.
Mm-hmm.
Today I recorded with a young lady this morning named Betsy from Canada. Um, she was diagnosed at 22 and she goes, her Instagram handle, I can't remember it fully, but it starts off with Lotta. And when you started talking, I was like, did she already have a conversation with Betsy?
Yeah, the letter. Yep.
Yeah, because we had a whole conversation about that.
And even at first, when I was initially diagnosed, they diagnosed me with type 2 because of my age. They didn't ask any questions, but I'm the only person in my family that has diabetes. Um, so I was diagnosed with type 2, and they originally asked me to go on metformin. And I'm a daughter of 2 nurses, and my parents were like, no, what do you mean? You're not getting like metformin and all these side effects or whatever. So I basically said no. And then I decided I'm 5'2", so I'm short, right? And I could lose a couple of pounds at that point. So I lost a couple of pounds. Fine. I went through living my life. It never really got completely better, but then I got pregnant with my son, my first son. So I immediately had to go on insulin when I was pregnant anyway, but they were still treating me as a type 2. It wasn't until after I gave birth to my son that I went back to the endocrinologist for a follow-up because of the type 2 diagnosis that I lost too much weight. Like I lost my baby weight and then some weight. Like I lost so much weight. And the endocrinologist, I was diagnosed by my physician. And then this endocrinologist was like, you really aren't responding in the way that someone like type 2 should. Like, because I exercised all the time, I ate well, I did all the things that are textbook supposed to make it better for a type 2, and nothing was working. So then they ran the antibody tests and all of those things, and then they re-diagnosed me with type 1, or LADA 1.5 the next year. So about a year and a half or so, I lived with what we thought was type 2. And then finally I got back on because I was only on the insulin when I was pregnant. And then after pregnancy, they took me off the insulin because they thought I had type 2. Then I went without insulin for a few months. And obviously that causes havoc if you're really type 1. And then they put me back on insulin once I got re-diagnosed. And I've been on insulin ever since, obviously. But
yeah, it's telling me that that original diagnosis should have been a lot of diagnosis.
Now that you learn more, right?
Right.
They didn't even do an antibody test. There's so many things that I'm also learning that doctors, not everybody's actually educated in the way that we assume that they're educated, right? That specialty, right?
True indeed. Being a professional, that when you went into your career as an educator, when like people from the outside, you tell them you're an educator, they're like, oh, you're a teacher. No. So when you hear like a doctor, when they're like, okay, I'm going to become a doctor or physician or whatnot, for the most part, they have a specialty that they shoot for, they aim for.
Right.
And in endocrinology, diabetes is at the top, really. But when they go through that whole schooling and education process, they think of like, okay, only 5 to 10% of people with diabetes or type 1, type 1.5, a lot of insulin dependent when diagnosed. So it's still today, when I hear about people who are in school to become an endocrinologist, they're like, I don't remember any of this. It's very, it's minimized how much education is given.
Yeah. And I think that it also teaches us, right? In the community of those of us living with diabetes, is that we have to also teach ourselves, and we have to be proactive about, because, we're used to going to the doctors, they tell us what to do, and it's like, okay, do this, do that. But what I've learned is that the textbook definition of what we are, who we are, and how we work doesn't always apply to us.
There's no cookie cutter.
Exactly. Not one person has this cookie cutter approach to what we have on an everyday basis and what we have to deal with. So I've learned to try to learn for myself, and also learn to trust myself too, because, there's sometimes the doctors will say things like, oh, you should do this. And I'm like, and it doesn't feel correct. One time the doctor asked me to lower a certain amount of insulin, like my long acting at night. And I said, I don't understand why. And they said that they were concerned that it was going too low at night. I was like, but it's not low where my alarms are going off. It's not low where I had less than 1% lows in my entire profile. And they were like, but we don't like how low it goes. And I'm like, so I remember I tried it, and then my A1C went up a lot because it was, and I learned that lesson to like trust my instinct. My instinct was that I had perfected it already for myself. So sometimes we have to follow our gut, take information from our doctors, right? But also sometimes we have to go with our gut with certain things. When you get to know, I talk about diabetes like it's a baby. Like, you got to get to know it, but you also have to take care of it and tell it what's good for it too,
Right.
Like my
and it's
children.
like, I mean, it's like diabetes to me. When people ask me how to describe it to others, I'm like, as an adult, I would say it's like you were given an infant, right? You remember when you birthed your children, but diabetes, when you were given this infant, it wasn't something you asked for.
Yeah, it just showed up.
And it wasn't growing. It wasn't maturing. It didn't start taking baby steps and start telling you like, mommy, I need this. It was like you had to figure it all out. And that infant was regifted to you like routinely, like, okay, It's been 3 months. Hormones about to change, new infant.
Yeah.
And that's something that also isn't shared during diagnosis, that insulin is a hormone. No two people living, hormones react identical to situations.
Absolutely.
So where I may need 50 plus units of insulin per day, you may only need 20.
Right.
But when we first go and see those new specialists, endocrinologists, educators, they do look at that cookie cutter approach like, okay, this is what I'm used to. So I'm
Mhm.
going to start you off with 24 units of basal per day because there's 24 hours in a
Exactly.
day. Like,
Right.
not
Right.
considering that you're this giant of 5'2". Like
Hmm.
my wife is 5'2", so yes, y'all are giants. This giant of 5'2", 100 pounds soaking wet, like
Yeah.
they don't take that into consideration when
Right.
they should, instead of comparing you to the other patients that have come through the office.
Absolutely. You'll get that sliding, they always give you the paper at the doctor, the
Mhm.
sliding scale of how to correct and how to those things. And I remember the doctor gave me the sheet. This was after I got a new doctor here in North Carolina. And the first thing they gave me was this sheet. She's like, yeah, you really should be using this. And I said to the woman, I said, this will kill me. Like if I took this much for a correction, I would not be here tomorrow. But that just goes with the self-education pieces of it. You mentioned about hormone, right? Insulin is a hormone. And something that I also learned because I met a group of women who also had diabetes, was about for women cycle syncing. Like, we often think about our cycles like just the menstrual cycle, right? But I didn't learn, and I had my doctorate. Like I had all the degrees
Right.
on the walls already. And then I started learning about paying attention to the cycle across the whole month, right? Because as women, we become so insulin resistant at certain parts of the month. And my diversity just was 10 years. I'm 10 years into this. I'm not a newbie to this, right? And I just recently learned about the whole cycle syncing part. And it has made such a difference because I felt like I was banging my head against the wall. At a certain time every month, I would become so insulin resistant. It was like the insulin was water. And
Mhm.
it just kept going through and going through. And then when I learned about something that is as simple as cycle, I was like, oh, this is life changing. But I have not one doctor or dietitian or anything has ever mentioned that to me and how to offset those things.
Yeah,
So, it was mind boggling to me that I had never heard of it before.
yeah, you just reminded me. I had a conversation with a mom from New York City 2 days ago, and she was telling me about her daughter because her daughter is 11 with type 1 diabetes, and she was like, she just got this Hashimoto's diagnosis, and I was telling her, I said, be wary and be aware of the hormonal changes. I said, I know she's growing into her young adulthood. She's going to
Uh,
start those changes. I said, but also because of this diagnosis of Hashimoto's and type
yep,
1 diabetes,
yep.
you're going to see you're going to see changes in her mood that you may think or because of her cycle coming along. I said, and it may be, but also it may be because of diabetes. It may be because of Hashimoto's. I said it's
All of the
almost,
things.
yeah, I said it's so much for a young woman. Like it's too much. I
Mm.
said it's going to feel like she's getting double diabetes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said, bless your heart, mom. Like seriously, I said, just hold on to your baby and just hug
Hmm.
her and tell her how much you like love her and you're there for her. I said because not only that, she's going into middle school. It's
Yeah.
so much.
And it's like a double whammy, right? Because, getting a diabetes diagnosis, but then also, and again, what we've learned over the years is that a lot of times when you get a diabetes diagnosis, you'll have other autoimmune diseases. I also have hypothyroidism and, that's messes with your thyroid, and then that impacts other things. And then, so everything kind of comes together, and you're just trying to figure out these different layers, right?
Yeah, you just made
It's
me
just
think about
so
something.
fascinating.
When you mentioned the hypothyroidism, and we know like the signs and symptoms of that, they can be identical to like premenopausal.
Mhm.
Like, wow. Like,
It's funny when when the doctors asked me, when I got re-diagnosed with the type 1, the doctor said, "Do you feel tired? Do you feel thirsty? Do you feel this? Do you feel that?" I said, "Hell yeah, I do. I'm a mom. I just had a baby. Like, I
right.
feel that way every day." And, I didn't recognize any of the symptoms that I had, except for the weight loss, which was a little concerning for me. That was different. But I also, I was breastfeeding, and I had all of these other things with being a new mom. And I was just like, okay, well, this is it. Because I didn't know of the signs. And that's one of the things now, too, that I make sure I share with friends, families, everyone. Like,
Hmm.
listen, these are the signs, because this can happen at any point in time. And if anyone's feeling these ways, is someone urinating more frequently? Are they more thirsty? Are they losing weight? Are they, all of the things that we are hyper aware to now? But I was so uneducated when I got diagnosed. I had all of the stereotypes in my head about all the things. I was like, I'm not overweight. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I had no idea, no idea. And, sometimes I get upset because some people are very ignorant and say ignorant things. And I have to try and be patient. Like, because not again, you don't know what you don't know. But if someone doesn't educate them or teach them about those things, I'll tell you
You
one thing,
got
my kids are gonna know about it when they get older. Like, they know about it now, and so if they ever meet other children or people that have this, that they'll be more empathetic and understanding, hopefully.
they will be. That's one thing I can say, having raised three children, and my children are 16, 14, and 11 now, that they are more sincere and empathetic to others' well-being. Also, they're like, because they remember the days of picking me up off the floor. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, because like, we're not given that direct education information from day one. Like, oh, there's gonna be severe lows. Like, you just think, oh, they gave me this insulin and it's gonna make me better. I'm no longer gonna be dehydrated. I'm gonna feel quenched and I'm gonna gain my weight back and everything. But then comes the lows, and you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
But and you being a mom, a mother, a parent, you and your husband, you know, like I know, like there's nothing that's ever going to be placed in front of your children. Like even this diagnosis
Right.
of diabetes,
Yeah.
it has to take like a step backwards because
Hmm.
our children are already here. They're
Hmm.
already here. Like diabetes is behind it. And when I tell people that, they're like, but you can't do anything without managing and taking care of your diabetes first. I said I had to make diabetes like second nature. I had to
Right. Without thinking
because
about it.
right,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
because I have to tend to my children. I have to
Hmm.
get them ready. Got to take them to school. Got to make sure that they're well mentally and physically. Like
Yeah.
get out to the sporting events and after school programs. Like we have to be involved. And you know that
Yeah.
as an educator.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's one of those things, especially when I know when my kids were very young, like when you have a baby and you're nursing a baby in your arms and you're getting a low blood sugar, it's like, all right, so how can I multitask here and take care of myself and take care of my child and do whatever else? Even my kids are getting older now, but even them, that, learning about what it is that I need. Like, I recently got, I think it's called a pixel, where my blood
Mhm.
sugars are shown on, like it's like a little clock
Right.
that my blood sugars are shown on, and it's in my kitchen. And it's really been a big tool for my family, even my husband, because sometimes if my sugars are very high, I might get a little agitated, and then and then he can look over and
And
check
he's
out and
like,
see.
uh-huh.
I see what's going on here. Or, when my alarms go off, one of the biggest things for me is that in the beginning, I took an isolation approach to all of this, right? Like, this is my problem. This is my issue. This is my challenge, right? But it wasn't until I started, and I'm still working on it, right? Like, we're all a work in progress, but I had to learn that this isn't something that I can do just on my own. I need support of my family because we all live together, right? And I can't live in this bubble by myself. So I gradually learned to accept help from my family and teach them more about what I need. And then I even took it into my workplace because at first I was so, I don't want to say it, I'm not ashamed. I was embarrassed at first because I was learning and I didn't really understand, and I didn't share with my team at work about what I might need. And, it could get a little confusing when you don't know what's happening with someone. So once I learned to accept support in a community, it really changed my life at home and at work. My family knows when I need time alone. They know when my sugars are at a certain point, like, okay, let's just leave mommy alone for a few minutes. People at work understood what the sounds of my Dexcom alarm meant. And it would go off at the most inopportune times and during presentations but my team knew if the alarm went off that they needed to either be on guard or like they would check in with me, like, are you okay? And then I'm fine, or I just need a moment. Can you cover this while I go take care of this? And they would understand, so it felt so much better after I came out of that part of my bubble of being not embarrassed about it. And it is what it is, right? And this is my life. And I think it's made some people more attuned to themselves and to other people too, hopefully. Because
It's
that
yours.
sound, yeah, that sound is very distinctive. It goes off in public and I know exactly what it is. And we all know what those sounds are.
And we look at ourselves first, and then we look around like I was at an uncle's funeral service
Um,
January 2023, and we're waiting to go in as a family. And I hear an alert go off. I look to my first cousin, who's also a type 1 diabetic, and she's
huh.
like, it ain't me. And I'm like, I yell out, like, whose alert is that? No one responded, but we both knew what it
Yep.
was. And
Yeah.
that's something about the alerts, like we see via social media, like people go through burnout. It's real.
Oh yeah.
Um,
100%.
uh, people like talk about like how the alerts and alarms can frustrate them at
Absolutely.
times. One thing that we don't hear is something you just gifted community, is letting them know like the alerts help family with the emotions of your diabetes, because they truly don't know what's going on inside. But if
Hmm.
they're able to hear those alerts, see that sugar pixel showing how much you've dropped over the last 5 minutes or risen, like they're able
Hmm.
to see that, and they get a better inkling or understanding of what it is for you living with diabetes. They're like, oh, it plays an emotional toll before even the physical.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Understanding that psychological approach to diabetes um, lessens the burden for real. Like knowing that others understand you and get you, and
Hmm.
that's because of technology. That's a
Sure.
plus in technology, and that's the first time someone has actually um, brought it to my attention that way. So I thank you for that, because it's going to give
Anytime.
the community
Hmm.
it will give the community a sense of knowing like, oh yeah, even though that alert gets on my dang
All
nerves
the time. All the time.
every single time, it's never not gets on our nerves.
Oh,
At the same time, it's going to benefit
yeah.
us as a whole.
Yeah. Out of all of the technologies and things, I'm on MDI. I have not yet graduated to the to the pump world yet, but
You're only in year 10. You got some time.
I'm in year 10. But I'll tell you one thing. At first, I was very resistant even to the Dexcom. Like there was about the technology, and I was like, doctor, I got kids hanging on me. Like, I don't want something on my body and what. But I'll tell you, it wasn't until after I had my first son and I was about to get in the car to drive somewhere. I remember I was at my best friend's house and I got flushed in the face. I started sweating and it just hit me out of nowhere. And I checked my blood sugar and it was like 50. I was shivering. I was I almost got in the car with my son. And I became so scared after that moment that I told the doctor immediately that I wanted to get the Dexcom because I said what if I was driving and I didn't know and but I became so scared in that moment that I was like, all right, give it to me. And now that I have had it for years now, my son's almost 9. I honestly don't know what I would do without it. I've become so, for good, bad, and different, attached to my Dexcom. Like I would never want to be without it. It causes some anxiety, right? Because you always know your numbers. But at the same time, it gives you some relief too, because you always know your numbers. So yeah, but I love the glucose monitors. Like it's a gift.
I think aside from insulin and this the ever-changing climate of insulin and how it's gone from the original insulin to beef and pork, NPH and regular human, and modern, we even got faster acting insulin. Other than that, the CGM is like the best thing ever. And people who don't have diabetes, they won't get that. But seriously, like you said, hopping in the car with your child, your baby at 50 and just ready to go until you realize like, oh, what's going on? Let me check my blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Because we both know as parents, we've been in situations where we've had to push forward. We've had to try, I got to go. Yeah. And your mind is telling you always to go because you have your children beside you, with you. You're young, you're strong, you're bionic, really. Like nothing can hold you back. You're like, I gotta go. But the Dexcom has the benefits of a CGM. I can't compare to anything with technology. It's like inventing the wheel. Like I don't know how. Well, I know how I went for years without it.
Sure.
I'm not sure where my blood sugars were at all. I just was on the go. I'm pretty sure they were more high than average and low. Like they were either high or low, no in between. But today, with modern technology and the advancements of it, as it should, technology in its truest definition, supposed to make life easier.
Sure. I will say I'm glad that I had the period of time without the CGM at first, because it allowed me to understand my tells, like my when I knew if I was high or low, right? It made you more sensitive in some ways to what those things are. So now, especially with my lows, sometimes I'll feel the low before it hits on the CGM because, they're delayed by by 5 minutes or whatever it is, or 15 minutes. But sometimes I'll feel like I'm going to get low, I'm going to be low, and I'll check it and it's on its way because I know what that feels like now, where I feel like if I just went straight to a CGM right after my diagnosis, I may not have understood that, may have just taken me a longer time to figure it out, right? So I'm still thankful that I had that time without it. But once I had it, there was just no going back for me.
No going back. Right. Everyone should know the basics of diabetes because, we were around for Y2K. We just knew the whole grid was going to crash. I didn't. I was busy on AOL, America Online group chats. You remember those days?
I
Like
sure do. Sure do.
AOL hometown space / you can make your
Yeah.
own profile.
Yeah.
Like
All of
we were
that.
like, yeah, I wasn't scared of the grid crashing, but knowing that that could occur because I mean it's truly run by man.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that runs by man can end, even the production of insulin. We
Right,
depend
right.
on man for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, technology is a great thing. I wanted to ask you,
Sure.
you lived in New York City for so long,
Mhm.
and that's where you were diagnosed. Did you like after a few years of having diabetes, did you realize like, oh, I was seeing people out in public that had diabetes and I didn't know what that thing was on them?
You know, I can't say I thought that. So I actually lived right outside of New York City in
Okay.
Rockland County, which was right outside of the city. And I can't say that I noticed them before as much. It wasn't until I learned about what they were that I was like, oh, wow. Like now I'll know it. Or anytime I say, oh, look, there's a Libre, there's whatever, the Medtronic or whatever they have. Um, I can't say, but I was also oblivious. It's kind of like when someone says, if I say to you, think about the color purple, right? You're going to look for color purple now that it's all that I
Mhm.
said that, but it could be around you and you didn't even notice it before. And I think that's what it was for me. I didn't notice, but I'll tell you one thing that I realized that there were so many people that live a lifestyle that now I'm like, mm, I need like you need a workshop. Like a lot of people need a workshop about I think things, and I'll meet people that unfortunately don't take their health as seriously as I think diabetes makes us do a crash course in, right? Um, I don't want to compare diabetes to cancer, but I do want to say like when someone's diagnosed with cancer, right? We tend to take the medicine and people change their lifestyles and they do all of these things because we want to change the trajectory of our life, right? Hopefully we can live longer than what, a cancer diagnosis has, right? And I think that there's not enough people that are diagnosed with diabetes that I think people should treat it like this could potentially end your life. Like this is something that I think as a society, we've kind of not taken as seriously. Type 2, type 1, any type, right? I've seen a lot of times where people continuously, and their choice, right? Their choice, I can't judge, but I just wish that some people would take it more to the heart. I met someone who has type 2 diabetes who lost a toe and he jokingly said like, oh, I got 4 more. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, no, that's not okay. Like that, we fight for our life every day, especially living with type 1 diabetes. I feel like with the insulin, you can live or you can die in a day. And it's just an unfortunate reality, but it's also one of those things that we have that we know life is short and we want to do whatever we can. And I know that you do having this podcast and how you want people to learn and you want people to know that there are choices and things that we can do to help our life and help us live longer. That's our goal, right? At least that's my goal. I can't say it's everybody's goal. My goal is to live as long as
That
possible.
should be the main goal. Like the main goal in life is to live.
Yes. I
Right.
don't want
And
to I don't want to wake up one day and and you just never know. It could be anything, right? Anything
mhm.
can happen, right? But
Anything
I don't
can.
want diabetes to be the one thing that takes me out, right? I want
Mhm.
it to be something that's enhancing my life as much as it can. As bad as diabetes is, it's made me the healthiest that
Healthiest.
I've been in my life. The choices that I make, the things that I do, the movement that I do. I like people that know me know I have to move my body. I do watch what I eat. I do all of the things because I don't want one more reason. I'm also I have a control problem too. So like
Don't we
if
all?
I can control whatever I can control, let me control. I always say, I have a lot of faith too. So faith has been very
Same.
important in my process, in understanding that there's only so much I can control, right? Like I'll do all the walking, I'll do the working out, I'll do the weights, I'll do the eating, I'll do the things I don't always want to do. But at the end of the day, that's all I can do, right? We don't know what tomorrow brings. So
Do your family members, like my family members, send me like their labs and health charts and be
oh
like, "What
my
is
gosh.
this?" What, I'm like, "Oh, I can tell your EGR like is raised. Like, check your kidney levels,
hmm
like
Yeah, yeah.
different thi-
Yep. I
yeah,
think that it's also, I can't tell you how many times I've got people, even on Instagram or Facebook, who are friends or family members or acquaintances that are like, hey, my partner or my somebody or my child or someone was just diagnosed with diabetes, and you just sharing resources with them because I might be the only person that they've seen that they know. And I've also learned that too when I was diagnosed, I never met another woman with type 1 diabetes before. Um, and I accidentally met a woman one day. Someone gave me a gift card for a massage, and the massage therapist was type 1, and she had a glucose monitor on. And she asked me, "Oh, are you type 1?" And I said, "Yes." And then she showed me her glucose monitor. I can't tell you the way I sobbed. Like I sobbed like from the chest because I had never met another woman
you
with
finally
type
found
1
your person.
diabetes. Oh my God. And I only met her one time, but
Hmm.
and then before we left, she's like, "Can I give you another hug?" And I sobbed again. Like what bananas. But because I had never seen another woman before. I had never seen another woman before with diabetes, with the everything. And I didn't realize how lonely it felt until I saw her and I was like, wow, I was holding that in, like clearly.
And you didn't even know that isolation. You didn't even know because diabetes was yours. I don't know if you know in the community, Kiana Drew.
I'm not sure.
Um, so she was diagnosed, I want to say at like 21, 22, and her daughter was just diagnosed, I think 2 or 3 years ago, her daughter
Okay.
Lily. So she's been living with it now for 22 years, Kiana. And she wrote a song called You Are Not Alone. Like, she's a singer and
Sure.
has been in like print ads and
Mm-hmm.
actress also.
Sure.
And this song speaks to the community about you are not alone. And you were just saying that like you didn't even know until you saw that woman. Like, wow, like I'm not the only one
Yeah.
because I know for years, I mean, like many years, I thought I was the only one. And people have called me an anomaly. Like a black man in the diabetes space talking about diabetes, like, and I didn't get it at first until I was on the Juicebox podcast and
Oh,
Scott had broke it down to me. He was like, "Well, for real though." And I'm like, "You're right." Like, I talk about it so much because I mean, without this diagnosis, I wouldn't be here.
right.
And at the same time, like there was a point in time, like I said, when I was the only one. Not that I thought I was the only one. I
Right.
truly felt that. And just a couple weeks ago, I'm in Walmart with my daughter, and um, I typically, when I go outside, I make sure it's known that I'm a type 1 diabetic. Like, I have this hoodie that says Chronically Woke Podcast, and on the back of it, it says Unapologetically Type 1 Diabetic.
Yes. Yes.
And this man taps me on the back of my shoulder, and he's like, "Yo, man, that's you?" And I said, "Huh?" He was like, "That hoodie, that's you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yo, man." He comes and opens his arms
Yeah.
for a hug. And this is a man that looks like me, a little older, but I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I'm a type 1 diabetic." I shook his hand, embraced him, gave him a hug. And he
Yeah.
was
That's
like, "Yo,"
powerful.
he said, "I needed to see you today."
Yeah.
And we exchanged numbers and been in communication. He said he was diagnosed 10 years ago, like yourself. He's
Hmm
45. And he said, I had never ever saw another black man that's type 1 diabetic. And I said, yo, I understand how you feel because that was me.
Hmm. You
Yeah.
never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to inspire, who's going to hear one thing that you've said, done. You know, you do so much good work on, I know, Instagram. We have the groups that you have and things like that. There's so much good work. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to come here and help share some story, because you really just never know who's going to hear your story. You know, one time I was in, I think it was like Dunkin' Donuts. I was getting a coffee or something. And a little girl and her mother came up to me and they saw my Dexcom. And then the little girl was so happy because she had a Dexcom too. She couldn't have been more than like 5 or 6 years old. And to see the light on her face, to see me as another person that had something like her, right? To see me in her, and it was a quick interaction, but it made my day, and I'm sure it made her day as well. You know, like you said, because it can feel lonely, but and then when you realize other people are there too, there's just something about it that really inspires you to keep on going, right? Um,
In that moment, you were her Disney princess.
oh, that's great. That's a great way to put it.
For real. That's how young people look at us. Um, the family in New York, the mom, I went and visited New York with my oldest son for his birthday in November. And
Mm-hmm.
we were supposed to meet up, but something had happened. And she was like, oh my gosh, she wanted to meet you so much. And I'm like, why? She's like, you're like a celebrity. She loves you. And I'm like, I'm not a celebrity. Yeah, but to other people, they see us. Your representation to that young lady mattered. To that young girl
Sure,
mattered.
sure.
For real. She was able to see like I can become a maturing adult and like still have all my limbs. Like, come
Yeah,
on
same thing.
now.
Yep.
Because we should not and this is a true disclaimer, like we should not expect to, as people living with diabetes, to go through the complications.
Right.
And many people expect that. They're like, oh,
Right.
it's just diabetes. No, it's not just diabetes, because I have diabetes. You have diabetes. A lot of people, there's more people without complications than with.
Yeah, if you're willing to take care of it and do whatever you can, and you know, there are things that sometimes we can't avoid, right? But we'll do whatever we
Mhm.
can to make sure that we don't have those complications as much as possible. Most of the people that are listening to your podcast are like doing all the things. We're the ones that are trying to make sure that we don't as much as possible, right? We have good days, we have bad days, and all in between.
Yeah, because I mean, even from diagnosis, for most people, there's a missed part in education that isn't gifted to them.
Yes.
We should all be gifted that education and be able to choose, especially as an adult, to choose
Yes.
whether you're going to run with it or not.
Right. Right.
And for like, even like families, when a child is diagnosed, someone's going to come in there, a advocate for the family, for the hospital, and they're going to sit down and they're going to have a conversation with you. And then through that conversation, there should be a checklist on if they believe like this family is prepared for this.
Right.
And if they're not, then they should give them the resources, the
Right.
support groups,
Yes.
community, all of those
Yes.
things that are needed because we already know this is
Yeah. Absolutely.
a burden that we didn't ask for.
Hmm.
Um, uh, you said that you have no family history that you know of. Uh, I always smirk on that because I'm like, somewhere out the conversation I was in earlier, the lady was like, I have no family history of diabetes, type 1 specifically. But then she was like, but my aunt on my dad's side and like, and my grandma, or my grandfather who's in China. And
Hmm.
I said, that's 4 people.
Yeah, like that's family history.
Right. But you have no known history.
No, we have like high cholesterol, right? Like I also have chronic high cholesterol from family, like stuff, familial stuff. But as far as diabetes is concerned, no. Um,
How
that's
about
why it was
any
such a shock to us because we were just like, um,
no other
they
autoimmune conditions?
like thyroid conditions, yes. My grandmother, my mom,
That's the
like
closest
family
relation
that
to
history. Yeah,
type 1 would be hypothyroidism or celiac.
yeah, yeah. Thyroidism definitely runs in the family. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism before the diabetes diagnosis. Um, that's gone okay so far. Thankfully medication has kind of kept it under wraps since I got that. But I'll tell you, it's made a lot of people in our family a little healthier, right? Not always as much as we would like them to be, but I think my diagnosis scared the hell out of my family. And at one point, I think that they were making sure that they, looked at themselves a little bit more. Or I always get on like my staff, please do your annual physicals. Please make sure you
Mhm.
have health insurance, get your physical, like
Right.
all of those things. Um, in those lifestyle changes that we have and that we do, people take notice and then they also start to practice those things in some ways. There's been people that have been like, oh, I did this because I thought about you and I wanted to do this, or whether it's eating better or making a different choice or making the doctor's appointment. Like it's so simple but so important. Like I can't tell you how many times I'm like, when was the last time you got an annual physical? And it's like, we're in our 40s now. You can't afford to not, even in your
Right.
30s or 20s. Like, you can't afford to not get an annual physical. You just never know. What do you have to lose by getting just an annual physical? I was diagnosed during my annual physical. Literally went for my annual physical and then I got a call from the nurse practitioner, not even the doctor, and was like, so you have diabetes and you need to
Was it
limit
from
your
like a
carbs
urine
intake.
sample?
No, blood test. And it was just like you have to limit your carbs and take metformin. I was like, I'm not taking the metformin. And okay, I'll limit carbs. Whatever that meant at the time.
Mhm.
Um, but there was not a real education about it either. It was literally a phone call. But I got diagnosed because of my annual physical. And with type 1.5, like it comes on suddenly. And what I suspect is I got some sort of virus maybe 2 months right before
Mhm.
I went to my annual physical and I was sick, like down and out in the bed, not sure what exactly happened. And then I went for my physical and it was all out of whack because I go every year. I'm one of those people that goes every year and my A1C was fine every year. And then I went for that one time and that was it. It was gone after that.
Well,
My
that's all it
pancreas
takes is one
decided to,
time.
yeah, literally.
Take a
Um,
long vacation.
yeah, I
Hopefully
joke
she comes
around
back.
with my I joke around with my sorority sisters. So I'm in a sorority called Omega Phi Beta and people call us betas, right? And I joke around that I'm like, I'm a beta that doesn't have beta cells that work.
Got you.
Like it's cheesy, but I'm like, what are the chances? What are the chances?
What are the chances? Look, and you trying to give me show titles. I gotta remember that. I'm a beta without a beta.
Literally.
Right. Has your diagnosis affected you as far as like you being in your community, um, where people today they're like, she wasn't like that before this diagnosis, or family, where they're like, or as you just mentioned how basically you said when you say something, people straighten up. You said like if it can happen to Nikki, then it can happen to anybody. Like,
Yeah, seriously.
yeah. Does anyone like look at you different today, or have they over the years, like since this diagnosis?
I think since the diagnosis, I think, like you said, people have thought to themselves, man, if this can happen to her, it can happen to anyone. Um, because I'm considered the quote unquote healthiest person in my family.
Same.
Right? And to have the supposedly healthiest person be diagnosed with this, I think it made a lot of family members question, like, could this potentially happen to us? And some family members decided to, like, you know what, maybe I should lose a little bit of weight. And then some family members not as much, but at least people, I think, are being more aware of it. But how do I say, people know now at work, at home, all different places about just certain expectations that I have, right? Like, to be more inclusive. I think what I've taught is for people to be more inclusive of choices. My family background, we're Italian, New York
And
Italian,
mindful.
and yes, and more mindful about the food, right? So we always had the high carb, high pasta, lots of things, right? And I think since my diagnosis, family members and even coworkers and people decided to be a little more mindful of the choices that they made of food to bring, which I appreciate. Some people get frustrated when people bring lower carb or like other options, and I don't. I view that as someone thought about me enough to make me something. I'll never forget when I was pregnant with my first son, one of the women in another office, didn't even work in my office, she made me like a sugar-free something. I don't even remember what it was. And it was so thoughtful for her to make this for me. It was my baby shower at work. And it was just, I'll always remember it, even this many years later, because she thought about me, whether I wanted the sugar-free thing or not was beyond the point for me. It's that she thought enough about me to try,
Yeah, she cared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has diabetes stopped or prevented you from doing anything over the last 10 years? Because you're a doctor now.
I'm a doctor. It definitely didn't stop me. I was diagnosed right before I started my doc program. So I had diabetes my whole program. The only thing I'd say that it has limited me in some ways is my physical things. We just have to be more mindful of when we do things, what we do. I've adjusted my lifestyle where I work out first thing in the morning when I don't have insulin on board. Sometimes I would love to work out at other times, but I just find that what works best for me is working out with no insulin on board in the morning. So I'd say physically, and I've had to teach my family too. For example, my husband took a while to understand that if I just took, say, 2 or 3 units of insulin, I'm not going out to bike ride with the kids right now. Like, I just took this and I take my insulin and I need some time for this to settle in. So like it's for me, at least, it's been the physical pieces where I just have to pay more attention to. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense because I think now, like my wife understands when I'm like, I can't do it right now. Like, it's not like, like the typical relationship. I can't do it right now. Like, nah, it's like, I tell her like, I can't do it right now. And she understands that. Like, even like at night, because like how you say you do you work out in the daytime. Like, I do most of mine like at night. And one of the things I do at night to end my night is I go, me and King, my pup, we go for a walk. We go for like a mile walk every single night. And like last night, it's like 19 degrees outside. I'm all bundled up, everything, got my gloves on. And then I said, can't do it right now, pup. And then my wife's like, I was like, I can't do it right now. I said, so it was like a whole hour later.
Yeah. You can't do it right now, but it doesn't mean you can't do it later, right? Like, we just have to sometimes put things on hold momentarily until we make sure that we're right. We talked about with the kids, right? We got to make sure the kids are okay. But then sometimes it's kind of like, I hate to use an airplane analogy right now with everything that's going on, but when the oxygen masks come down, they say you got to put it on your yourself first, right?
Mhm.
And I think sometimes we have to do that. Like we have to make sure that we take care of us so that we can continue, right, to take care of other people around us, right, to make us our better selves. Um, not again, it's a journey, right? It's never perfect, but I have found power and vulnerability in this diagnosis at the same time. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it, sometimes I don't want to ever know it again, but
Mhm.
still thankful for this journey. I've just learned so much from everything, you
Right.
know.
Some days we wish we weren't gifted this infant, that it chose a different
Right,
path or
right.
route, like,
Yeah.
or we could have put it up for adoption as soon as we got it.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, I always think about maximizing my time. Like, I'm all about maximizing my time, leaving no stones unturned. Like, that's me. And when I think about diabetes, that's the one thing that always gets me. I'm like, I know I'm maximizing my time, but if I didn't have this, you know where I would be or what I would, but I mean, this is my purpose. Like God has set us here and we're going to maneuver it this way.
Right.
Like I wouldn't want to, like, I don't care. Like I have no enemies at all in life, but if I did have any enemies, I would not wish this upon them.
Right. Anyone, right? I say that all the time. Like, I don't wish this life upon anyone. We do it and because we have to. You know, people will say, "Oh, I don't know how you give yourself all those needles," or "I don't know how you do all the things because I want to live. Because I want to live. We don't have a choice. We don't want to do this. We have to do
Mhm.
this."
Right. I know that life for you has changed a lot since that day of your diagnosis. Like we said, we talked about always being on a go, being ready to do the next thing. But since then, since that diagnosis, you've been able to enlighten and share with family, friends, like you said, coworkers, things about not only you, but about themselves, about like you took this whole approach, like, I'm not only going to better me, I'm going to share this information, not keep it bottled in, not remain isolated, so that everyone can learn from it. What's some advice that you could give to someone who's either newly diagnosed, um, or have been living with diabetes for like you or me, 1, 2, 3, 4 decades, and
Mhm.
just like needs a word of encouragement?
Sure. Mm, the first thing that comes to my mind is giving ourselves grace, right? The thing that I always say, you know, tomorrow's a new day, right? You know, I might have had a terrible blood sugar day. I remember one day I had a blood sugar day that, like, I'm talking about, I was like 5% in range. Like, it was terrible. It was the worst day I ever had. And I remember saying to myself, okay, I'm stressed out clearly. There's a lot of things happening, but I had to give myself the grace to start again tomorrow, right? Or even the next minute, the next hour. So, like, giving ourselves grace, being proactive in our education, I think, is the biggest part. We can't force our ideals about health on other people, but we can lead by example. And I think that for me, that's the biggest, like, flex is leading by example when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle and making people or helping people to be aware of those things. But definitely giving ourselves grace. I'm a woman of faith, so I always say if you don't believe in something, find something, someone, some God, something, because this is rough. And without faith, for me, it would be a lot harder of a battle without having faith to lean on, right? And finding a support system, faith and also people, right? Finding like people to be your support, listening to podcasts like yourself, joining different support groups. They can be overwhelming, some of the groups sometimes too, because it's a lot of people with
Mhm.
a lot of things, right? But finding your people and finding your tribe of people that you can lean on, right? I have two or three particular friends that don't have diabetes that have learned about it through me. and they know that I can lean on them when I'm having a hard time. And like, so building that trust and community. Um, those are my biggest things, but giving yourself grace is the biggest thing, because I feel like we don't do it enough for ourselves. Like, we're doing a lot. We're being a whole organ that's not working on top of our taking care of our children and our families and our lives and our jobs and everything, right? So how can we not give ourselves grace for doing all the things?
Right. Right. Nikki told y'all, give yourself grace. And Nikki, can you please continue giving yourself grace? Because I know we're here in this space, but when a computer shuts down, like sometimes we want to
Yeah,
fight. We do. We do
yeah,
want to fight. Because there are things that are out there that and usually we want to fight is things that we know that if we were put in position, we could control them. We could make
right,
it better. But
right.
there are some things that we truly can't control.
Yeah.
And it's hard knowing that, like, we're people that live with type 1 diabetes. We know we can grab control of some things. We just
Hmm.
know it. Like, nothing's been able to deny us of our greatness and peaking and reaching towards that.
Yeah.
But some systems are in place, and we got to just do what we can. Uh,
Absolutely.
and that gives me the transition. I wanted to know. I wrote this down when you first started talking. You were like, you're you moved from New York to North Carolina. I have to ask this: how has the healthcare in North Carolina been versus where you're from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been very impressed. I cannot lie. I have been very impressed so far in North Carolina. They have the My Chart system that they use,
Mhm.
and it's very informative. Everything is in the system. The doctors I've met so far have been great. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of my endocrinologist, but his PA, his physician's assistant, is type 1, and she's very helpful. So that part, but that's more personality, right? What we've learned is that there are some doctors that have better bedside manner than others. Um, but the quality of what I've gotten here has really been up to par with what I had in New York. And, that's my biggest fear coming, outside of
Mhm.
us getting services for our son who has special needs. My diabetes management was the other, like, how's that going to look? And so far so good. I can't complain yet. So far so good. I joined the Charlotte chapter of the organization that used to be the juvenile
Breakthrough
diabetes.
T1D.
Yes, Breakthrough 2. I just joined like that. So they have their summit coming up next week that I'm going to go to. So I'm starting to try and build a little bit of a community here in North Carolina. But so far so good. I can't, knock on wood, I can't
Look,
complain about the healthcare so far.
that's good. Go find your people
Yeah,
and bring them along your journey.
absolutely.
Because I can tell through the duration of this conversation that you're truly someone who's not only empathetic, but like you empathize with everyone as a whole. Um, you know the trials, tribulations you've been through, and you've always said, "I'm going to better Nikki. I'm going to keep Nikki better because like there's so many inserts that can be put in there that tells you like I'm going to be better. You got your kids, you got your family, you got
Mhm.
people that depend on you, you got yourself, your own health. So I applaud you for that. I give you
Thank
your flowers. I give your children their flowers because they're patients. I give your husband his
Yes.
flowers
He has a lot of
because
patience.
I know he does. I know he does. Because I mean, to be married, to be in love is everything. Love is everything. But he knew you before
Yes.
this
Yes,
diagnosis.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah. We were married in October of 2014, and then I was diagnosed in January 2015. So he definitely knew me before my diagnosis. And so he's been through the ups and the downs and the through
Mhm.
sickness and health, literally, right? It was a joke. I remember when I got diagnosed, one of our friends was like, "Oh, did you get the receipt to return her?"
Like that sickness and health was perfect timing. Like,
That worked out. That worked out. But yes, he's been very patient. I'm sure I frustrate him sometimes and, all of that, but he has been my rock and for myself and my children. And like, we're a good team, thankfully.
that's great. Four is the team. Is that what's on your four?
Yes.
If you had one more, you could have a starting five.
Ah, yeah. No, it's good. I'm good with four. I like four.
Diabetes,
It's even.
diabetes is that extra,
Yes.
right? Have you? I mean, it's been 10 years. Have you ever imagined your life without diabetes, being involved at all?
In the diabetes, like movement, you mean? Or like,
No, you not like diabetes not being here. Have you ever thought about that? Like, imagine your life because you've lived with it for the last 10 years and you knew life
it's
before.
I did know life before, but I honestly don't remember. I was just telling my husband the other day, I don't remember. Like, I remember eating a lot more.
Diabetes forced so much on us.
Yeah, like I remember eating a lot differently, right? Culturally, my family ate a lot of pasta, right? That's the biggest thing that I can
Pasta,
remember.
bread,
But all of
sauces.
that, all of it. And I think that was the biggest thing. But like if you came to me tomorrow and said that, I know there's one person that they supposedly found a cure for in like China or something. And if you came to me and said that everybody has that and that I would never have this again, I honestly don't know if I would believe it at first.
You must know how I end these
First,
conversations.
well, yeah, I've heard you say that before. And and I am perplexed by what I would do, honestly.
Let me present it to you. On the day, Nikki, that you find out that there's a true
Mm.
functional cure and it's everyone has it. Not that it's available for everyone, that everyone has
Everyone
been
gets it.
cured because with the cure, it eliminates the cost, the expense, manufacturing of so many other things.
Right.
And they're like, everyone either has to have the cure or everyone doesn't have it. And we found out that we've been fully cured. You woke up, got out of bed, stepped on the floor, looked at your CGM. I'm still at 80.
Oh my God.
You go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, wash your face, do all of those things. Get out, your breakfast, sit down. I'm still at 80. You eat your breakfast. I don't know if you go for a morning walk or anything, get your
Yep.
kids ready, all of those things. Hop in the car. You look first. I'm still at 80.
Oh.
Nikki, the whole day done went by. You done held meetings. You've called your husband, texted him like, and he's looking like, hey, Nikki, your diabetes okay today?
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't see anything flash, like nothing. And you reach out to me. And you're like, Will, what's going on? And I'll let you know, Nikki, diabetes is gone. You have a world of opportunity. You can expand. You can truly maximize your time from this point moving forward without diabetes. You still have the community because they're the only people that truly understand what it is like now being cured.
Mhm.
On that day, you find out you've been fully cured of type 1 diabetes. What do you do?
Oh God. The whole thing you were talking about, it's just so surreal. I can't even imagine. I'd cry a lot first. Like I would sob. Um, I'd probably take a very long nap and just sleep for a little while. And I'd get a smaller purse. So because I don't have to carry so much stuff. I won't have to carry the glucose monitor and the extra pens and the snacks and the things. And I've always been so jealous of people that just walk around with their cell phone in a little wallet. So jealous. So I'd get a smaller bag.
You may not even need to carry your cell phone all the time.
Right? I didn't even think about that. I might not need to even care about this thing next to me. Right? I didn't even think about that. I can't even imagine what it would be like to not have the cell phone with me. That would be amazing. And then obviously, well, first, I'd thank God. First, that'd be my first thing. And then I would do I'd cry, sleep, get a smaller bag. Those are the things. Those were the first things.
Smaller bag.
Testimony, a big testimony after that.
Right. I just think like, yesterday I recorded with a young man from Uganda, and I know about how the access to insulin and technology are limited. Like there's no technology. Access to insulin is limited also.
Sure.
And I'm like thinking of things I would be able to do. Like I'll be able to just freely pack up and travel and go help out other places, whether it's with diabetes or some other chronic health condition, because we know that we wouldn't give up on this.
Right.
There's no way we just giving up on this. It's been 10 years. You went through another doctorate program of diabetes. Like, and you did mention about the person in China. Just to let you know, it's not just in China. I spend a great portion of my time into having conversations, studying the research and the sciences behind the cure, and speaking to people. At the end of March, my last episode in March will be with lady Dr. Pedamayo Kasande. And she's been working for the last 10 years on finding a cure for type 1 diabetes. And it's on the horizon. As long as we have the funding available for that, the big brothers out there don't try to stop anything. Someday it will be here. It will be here. And on that
Think
day,
about how much we've had, how much has changed, even the invention of insulin, right? In 1920s, like it's not that long ago. It's not that long ago that we've had these advances. I can only imagine in our lifetime, in my children's lifetime, that even more advances that will come of this, right?
They will come. And I'm highly optimistic and hopeful for them. Because we deserve, our future deserves it. Serious. Because I think often about my great grandma, who was diagnosed in 1954, January 19th, 1954, and she passed February 2nd, 1954. So her diagnosis and her death are all aligned the same with type 1 diabetes. Her daughter, my grandmother Ruth, upon her diagnosis with brain cancer and going through treatment, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And that was in 2012. I mean, not 2012, 2002. And I was diagnosed a year after that. So I think about those things, and I think about the future for us. Like a future without diabetes would be amazing.
Amazing.
For everyone.
Absolutely. I'll dream about it. I'll keep dreaming about it.
Look, and I'll play that Selena song, Dreaming, like, because I'm dreaming about it. Serious.
Yeah, indeed.
Very hopeful. Is there anything we did not cover in this recording that you wanted to cover?
think we covered most of it. We had a good conversation.
I
Um,
appreciate,
but I think we covered most of it. I
I
appreciate you.
appreciate.
I appreciate all the work you've done and the community that you've built. And it's really, again, you never know. I'm sure you do this work because of, the goodness of your heart and wanting to raise awareness and everything, but you really don't know who you've helped. And I appreciate you even from afar. Like we haven't met or anything, but I feel like I've grown to know you, and a lot of people in your groups have grown to know and see the good things that come from the work that you do and everything. And I appreciate it. I'm sure they appreciate it. And thank you for having this outlet for everyone to share their story, right? So it's important. It's great work that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And moving forward, when this is released, it's just a link that you can
Mhm.
share with anyone you want instead of having to repeat yourself on what type 1 diabetes is.
Sure.
Because we get tired of that.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
it's all good.
yeah.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate it
you.
all.
On that note, Dr. Nicole Videla, thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
me on the Chronically Will podcast, where we have real conversations with community that need to be heard because you truly are someone that needs to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you.